There are certain weeks on the PGA Tour where the golf itself almost takes a back seat to the human drama unfolding around it. And this week at Bay Hill was absolutely one of those weeks. Two stories emerged from the Arnold Palmer Invitational that captured the attention of golf fans everywhere. And when you look at them together, they tell you something real and honest about where the tour stands right now and just how unforgiving professional golf can be, even for the very best players in the world. The first story is one that genuinely caught a lot of people off guard. And if you're a fan of Justin Thomas, it was a difficult week to watch. Thomas was making his return to competitive golf following back surgery, specifically a microdiscectomy he underwent on November 13th to address pain in his lower back. At the time of the procedure, he was ranked 5th in the world, and the expectation among fans was straightforward. Give him some time to shake off the rust, and the talent and competitiveness that made him a two-time major champion would reassert itself fairly quickly. Bay Hill had other ideas. His first round was an immediate struggle, as Thomas carded a 79 and found himself buried deep in the leaderboard with very little margin for error heading into Friday. Then, on the very first swing of his second round, things went from difficult to deflating. He snap-hooked his opening drive so severely that the ball ended up in the brush, closer to the driving range than the fairway. After taking a penalty and punching out sideways, he walked off the first hole with a double bogey before the round had barely begun. That moment set the tone for everything that followed. He finished the second round with another 79, leaving him at 14 over par for the week and missing the cut at Bay Hill for the first time in 5 appearances at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. To put that in context, Thomas missed only 2 cuts across all 21 starts during the entire 2023 season. And there have been 5 seasons in his career where he reached that same total of just 2 missed cuts. Finishing at the very bottom of the leaderboard this week was genuinely unusual territory for him. The scorecard across those 2 days told the full story of what went wrong, with 5 double bogeys and 9 bogeys spread across 36 holes. Thomas was candid and direct after the round, saying he expects more from himself and that there is no scenario where shooting 14 over par for 2 days is acceptable by his own standards. He acknowledged that genuine nerves were a factor in the first round, which is understandable and honest when you consider the combination of a long absence from competition and the pressure of returning from surgery. But what stood out was that even when the nerves settled somewhat in the second round and he felt more at ease on the course, the execution still wasn't there. He also singled out his putting as a significant problem across both days, and at a venue as demanding as Bay Hill, poor putting combined with missed approach shots is a recipe for exactly the kind of week he had. There was an interesting moment of perspective buried inside the difficulty, though. Once Thomas recognized that the cut was essentially out of reach, he used the back 9 of his final round as an opportunity to experiment with adjustments and test a few things in a live competitive setting. He made the point that there is no better environment for trying something than in an actual tournament round, and since there was nothing left to lose at that stage, it made sense to take some of that time back as a learning experience. Whether those adjustments carry any real benefit remains to be seen, but the mindset behind the decision says something about how he is approaching what is clearly going to be a process of getting back to full form. His next scheduled start is the Players' Championship, one of the most significant events on the entire tour calendar. So the turnaround time is short, and the stage will only get bigger. While the Thomas storyline was generating conversation, the second major story at Bay Hill was the wild and unpredictable chaos unfolding around the cut line throughout Friday's second round. If you were tracking the leaderboard in real time, you already know how quickly things were shifting, with names rising and falling and the line itself moving almost constantly as the afternoon wore on. Shane Lowry was one of the players drawing the most attention, and the circumstances surrounding his week made it particularly difficult to watch for fans who have been following him closely. Just 1 week earlier at the Cognizant Classic, Lowry had been in position to win the tournament before things unraveled late in the final round and the victory slipped away from him. Coming into Bay Hill, there was genuine curiosity about how he would respond to that disappointment. His first round left him sitting at 2 over par, which put him right on the wrong side of the projected cut line from the start. When Friday arrived, and he needed a clean finish to keep his weekend alive. The tournament ended on the 18th hole when a closing bogey pushed him just past the cut number and sent him home early. It was a stinging conclusion to a 2-week stretch that had promised more than it delivered. On the other side of the ledger, Nico Echevarria, who had lifted the trophy the previous week, showed enough in the second round to slide inside the cut line and keep his momentum alive into the weekend. It was not a dominant showing by any stretch, but on a course playing as tough as Bay Hill was this week, simply surviving with your score intact qualifies as a genuine accomplishment. Rory McIlroy added another compelling thread to the day's narrative, following an even-par opening round with a strong Friday charge that moved him significantly up the leaderboard and put him squarely in the weekend conversation. When the second-ranked player in the world starts climbing at a venue with Bay Hill's history and difficulty, the rest of the field takes notice. Jacob Bridgman, who has quietly built one of the stronger statistical cases on tour this season while sitting fourth in the FedEx Cup standings, also needed a solid second round just to ensure he would be around for the weekend, which in itself illustrates how little margin for error the course was offering. Other notable names watching the cut line closely included reigning U.S. Open champion J.J. Spaun, Tommy Fleetwood, and Chris Kirk, all of whom had real stakes in how Friday afternoon played out. When the dust settled and the cut was officially set, 52 players advanced at 2 over par. Last year, the cut came in at 4 over par, and the difference between those two numbers tells you everything about how the conditions were playing this week. 2 over par at Bay Hill as your survival number is a serious ask, and the fact that so many recognizable names were right on that edge reflects just how demanding the course was for the entire field. Stepping back and looking at both of these stories together, there's a larger truth in there about professional golf in this era. The margins are extraordinarily tight. The competition at the top of the tour is as deep as it has ever been. Elite players with major championship pedigree can have a week where nothing works and walk away with a missed cut. Stars can make a charge on Friday and completely change their tournament with one strong round. And a course like Bay Hill, on the right week with the right conditions, can humble absolutely anyone in the field. That combination of unpredictability and high stakes is precisely what makes following the PGA Tour from week to week so genuinely compelling. And this week at Bay Hill delivered both of those elements in full.